Okay, so I think we're on. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Facebook live discussion. My name is Keisha, and I'll be your moderator for this session. We're excited to kick off the 16 Days of Activism against gender-based violence. This year, we're amplifying the theme, No Excuse for Online Abuse. Today, I'm joined by Omattie Madrid and Keisha Jardine. Omattie is our director at ChildLinK, and Ms. Keisha is the supervisor at the Child Advocacy Center in Region 6. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you for having us, Lucretia.
All right. Hi, Keisha. Thank you for being here also. I think you have to turn up your volume, Keisha. We're not hearing you. I'm still not hearing Keisha.
She's there now. You hearing us, Keisha?
Yeah, now I'm hearing.
Okay, great. Great. She's hearing us. Yeah.
Okay. I don't think we're on Facebook.
Okay.
So you remember how to reconnect it, Omattie?
I could see it.
Oh, okay. Yes, we are. All right, great. So we're there. All right. Okay, so this year's theme is especially important as children and young people spend more time online, whether for school, entertainment, or connection. Digital spaces have become another setting where violence, exploitation, and harassment can occur. Online abuse can be just as harmful as online violence, leaving emotional scars, damaging self esteem, and putting children at risk of exploitation. Right? That's why this year's theme, we're calling for stronger awareness, digital responsibility, community action to make the online world safer for every child. As always, we want to hear from our viewers to be a part of this discussion. Feel free to drop your questions or comments at any time. Right. So to kickstart our questions, I would like to ask both of you. Omattie, you can go first. What does gender-based violence mean to you?
Thanks, Lucretia. Thanks for having us again. And today being the November 25th, the launch of the 16 Days of Activism, there is quite a buzz around on the issue of gender-based violence. Early on this year, I think it was around September period when we were looking at the number of murders that would have happened, violence that would have been perpetrated against women and they were killed. And that article in September indicated to us that every 16 days for the year, a woman was killed by her partner. And when you think about that, you sort of see that what gender-based violence equal to is that it equals to a loss of a limb, a loss of a life, a murder-suicide, someone being sent to prison for a very long period, children being abandoned, children losing both parents, children losing at least a mother, parents losing their daughters, and communities and society are grieving through the process in different ways and are in awe of this level of violence that is playing out within families. The one that really stood out, not that it's significantly different from any other, but where this young woman was running away from the perpetrator, even after having a restraining order, running in the streets and screaming and being gunned down in Charlotte Street. And so when we think of gender-based violence, we think, I think of it, and I'm quite sure a number of women and men and young people are seeing it as a real concern, a real urgent concern that a lot more needs to happen at the level of young people, within the families, within the communities, within our schools, within various gathering where people congregate. This morning we had the opportunity to be with the Bishop's High School as they observed the 16 days, and it was really impressive to see the head teacher and the teachers and the students a part of an awareness sessions that are giving boys and young men and all the students actually more information on how they can be an advocate for the prevention of gender-based violence. So on one hand, we can see that it's a real urgent, critical matter to safeguard women and girls, and also to support men and boys to be advocates. But also we can see that some of the institutions or more institutions are becoming aware of their role and are taking full advantage of the opportunity in these 16 days to give that information to children and young people.
And Keisha, would you like to add something to what Omattie has been talking about?
It looks like she's frozen. She's gone.
All right. Well, we can continue, and as she come back on to join us, we will certainly let you know. Thank you. That was really good. I really like what the gender-based violence, how you put the words and the message that you had just spoken on, and it's really important for campaigns such as this to be present in today's world because of how the damaging effects the digital world is becoming, especially to young individuals. Why would you say it's important to view gender-based violence as a human rights issue and not just a women's issue?
I think Keisha is back. Keisha, would you like to go? You're muted, just in case. So I think when we think of gender-based violence, in times past, we thought of it as a concern for women and girls, and that it's an issue that affects mainly women and girls. And indeed, those things are accurate because it's mainly women who are the survivors and the victims of gender-based violence, and it's mainly men who are the perpetrators of gender-based violence. But it's not to say that men too are not violated, that men are not victims and survivors of gender-based violence. It's not to say that girls and boys are not also survivors and victims of gender-based violence, and that in itself makes it a human condition, and so it's a human rights issue because it affects men and women, it affects boys and girls, it affects the entire society, And so this is what makes it a human rights issue. More so, what makes it a human rights issue is that it needs a concerted effort from everyone to break the cycle of violence. Men must have a role because men are the main perpetrators of violence, and men must be included in that process of finding an appropriate solution and being a part of the behavior change that needs to happen, being a part of the advocacy that needs to happen, being a part of the championing of women rights and protection. Not all men abuse women, and those men need to stand up and be a part of stopping gender-based violence, which makes it a concern for everyone and not just for women.
I'm just tapping it back with Keisha. Are you still with us?
You're muted.
Yes, I'm with you now. Sorry about that.
That's okay. Well, since you're back with us, I would like to ask you our another question. Sorry, our next question, which is how does culture change the way we understand and respond to gender-based violence?
So, in order to answer that question, we first need to understand what is gender-based violence, and we need to know that we need to know the behaviors that are encapsulated or what gender-based violence means, right? So, and we need to know what is deemed acceptable and not acceptable. So, culture does influence people's understanding of this issue because certain beliefs and certain norms, in terms of the way that we are brought up, we may see certain things do based on our culture that we deem as okay. It's a quote unquote, it's a family issue. And this is something that is passed down from generation to generation. So in order for us now to, speak or break the cycle, we need to now come out of this and realize that certain things that we in the cultural spectrum deem as acceptable isn't acceptable. Violence in its whole, it's unacceptable. So we need to move away from that culture of, what, violence in the home, violence between married couple, between parents and children, or just in this whole extended spectrum of family. It's not okay. We need to be able to speak out. We can't just hold it because, oh, we're keeping the peace or we're keeping the family together. So we need to move away from that culture where violence is seen as, it's something that should be dealt with at home, or it's a private matter and not something that is public.
Okay, and you've mentioned that some of the rules or the how the culture is shaping it that should be acceptable and shouldn't be acceptable, that you've mentioned a few, but what are some positive roles are that we need to move forward with?
I'm not hearing.
I'm asking you've been talking about some of the roles and how the culture is shaping the way we understand how to respond to gender-based violence. I'm asking what are some positive changes that we should be doing to bring forward the responses to gender-based violence.
So as I said before, we need to raise awareness because we need to not only we need to target the younger children, but at the same time we need to target women, we need to target men, we need to target not just young children, even the older folks, because most people learn teaching from the older generations, or as we say in Guyanese, our elders. So if we can, bring awareness from the elders and children, so children can go home now and they can speak to other children, they can speak to the house. So, well, mommy, I learned this today in school. Mommy, this is what was said to me. Our elders now can have this understanding when we do sensitization or we do outreaches, and know that, what, these things that we were brought up with, or what we grew up with, there's something, these things need to change. We need to realize that, what we understand as a house matter or a private matter, it's not really that, because gender-based violence affects everybody. It does not just affect this home that you're a part of, it affects the community as a whole and even society, because what children learn in the home, that is what they're going to bring out into society, that is what they're going to put onto other children, and the cycle continue. It's like a snowball effect, sorry.
Yeah, and just to add to that, I also feel that um, elders, we tend to listen to them a lot, but in order to break the cycle as well, we from young have to understand what are positive attitudes or what are positive ways we can change the gender-based violence. And I feel educating yourself when it comes to what really is gender-based violence, and it can stem from school. So
Mm-hmm.
if the school includes it or the school have those conversations with you, you can now point out if you see it at home and you know that is not what you've been taught, or you've been reading about gender-based violence, and you see something that stands out at home that you don't think is okay, you can probably have that talk with mommy or daddy, uncle, aunties, grandparents, and tell them, look, I know that what you're doing here, you may think that it's okay, but really and truly, we've been learning about this. I've been reading about it,
Yes.
and I think this is not something that is right. So those are also some ways we can look to change that culture shape as well.
Yeah.
Omattie, to add anything before we move forward?
I think she's right that the awareness needs to be a lot more widespread, and it needs to be touching all the various genders and age range. When we do awareness targeting one particular group, then we are not giving that information, and we're not building the knowledge and the capacity of everyone in a concerted way, so that the change could be all moving in the same direction together. So I would say that Keisha is quite right in helping everyone to understand what exactly is gender-based violence. When we say that we need to stop gender-based violence, what does it really mean? What are we saying to men and to women and to children and to boys? Does boys really understand what is gender-based violence? And does girls really know that what we're saying is that when a boy call you, or when a boy speak to you in a disrespectful way, when a boy makes sexist remark at you, that it's not because he admires you, but these are little ways in which he's beginning to be disrespectful towards you, and all of that constitute gender-based violence. So yes, we need to really look at, because sometimes we think of gender-based violence as only when someone get killed, but no, it's all of these little acts that leads up to the bigger ones.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Thank you. To just point out for those persons who are now tuning in with our conversation, this conversation, we're kicking off the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. This year, we are amplifying the theme, No Excuse for Online Abuse. Here with me is Miss Omattie Madray and Keisha Jardine, and we will be having more of this discussion on our series today. All right. In what ways do traditional gender roles create or silence violence? If you want to take this one, Keisha.
Okay, so to me personally, I think it's based on our belief system, because traditionally we are taught that, what, men or males, they're supposed to be more aggressive, they're supposed to be more out there. Women and girls are supposed to be silent, we're supposed to be quiet, we're supposed to be more, let's say, in the kitchen, let's say, more traditionally, we're supposed to be more quiet, we're supposed to be more kept. So when these things happen, let's say abuse occurs in the home, we're normally told that, what, this is something that's happened, this is how men behave, or boys will be boys.
Mm-hmm,
So we are just, we just going with this saying that these are things that we're supposed to expect from boys, and girls and women are supposed to take it, because this is quote unquote what we're there for. We're supposed to be in the kitchen, we're supposed to be nurturers, we're supposed to be homemakers. Male are supposed to be providers. They're supposed to show dominance, they're supposed to be aggressive, they're supposed to be tough. So when all of these so we're taught this from a very young age. So as we grow up now, we realize that, you know what, this is what we have to do. We're supposed to be home, we're supposed to be quiet, we're supposed to take this, because this is what I've witnessed from mommy, this is what mommy witnessed from granny. So it goes down the line. So we need to try to break that cycle, erase that, and in some way reteach or re-educate the younger
Mm-hmm.
generation
Yeah.
that, you know what, this is not okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep. Omattie, you want to add?
Yeah, I mean, I think you know, it's really important for us to understand that point. It seems like, you know, very simple, but the fact that we grew up seeing things happen in a particular way that lends to gender-based violence and other forms of violence, um, uh, you know, we're as women and even as men, we are not to accept that approach. We are to stand up and says, this is wrong, this level of disrespect, this level of aggression, you trying to be dominant towards me, you wanting to end every conflict in a fight and in violence, this is not how it is supposed to be. And so we have to keep pushing back, and have to keep finding ways to get help, because many times, you know, families will reach out to help. The woman would, or we see more and more now, women are reaching out for help. But when they come for help, what they're saying is that I just want you to warn this person. I just want you to tell this person to stop hitting me. I just want you to tell this person to stop disrespecting me, or you know, however it is they're being violated. And so the pushback is happening, but sometimes there is not enough systems and services in available in a way that it could be easily utilized. Because if you're in and around Region 4, you can have access to those sort of support. But outside of the coastal areas, it becomes a bit more difficult. I think also when we think of you know, women having this sort of information and knowing that they can say no and they can ask for help. Men and boys also need to get that information and need to understand that women are going to continuously reach out for help, and they too, if they are not able to deal with their behavior, they need to reach out for help to help them change their approach towards their partners, towards their children, towards people in society generally, whether it's aggressive behavior, whether it's behavior that, you know, contributes to a rape culture, whether it's behavior that is just disrespectful to women and girls. They can reach out and find help for those sort of behaviors, and they can work on themselves to change that sort of approach to others. And so men, as Keisha is saying, don't allow yourself to think that we as women will subscribe to what it used to be. We will not. But we also want to say to you that we know that you too as men can find help to change that mindset and that behavior.
Right. And I would like, Omattie, if you can take this moment to advise or remind us, where can we get help, or where can we report abuse?
So there's a hotline where you can call in anonymously. You can call from any place, anytime. It's the 914 hotline operated by the Ministry of Human Services. set up to provide support to men, women, boys, girls. So you can call that hotline anytime. It's a 24-hour service and you will be linked to help. There's also help through Help and Shelter. And they too have numbers that you can call. They're also online. There are many other organizations. You can reach out to us, particularly when it comes to the abuse of children, or more specifically, when it comes to the abuse of children, you can reach out to us at ChildLinK. And you can, if you're completely outside of, telephone contact and so on and so forth, find someone in your community, find your faith-based leaders, find a good neighbor, find a teacher, find some community leader who's willing to listen to you, who is able to connect to the fact that you are being abused, that you are being harmed, and let that person help you to get help, or to connect you with help, because help is available. It's not always available in the package and in a place where you will want it, but keep pushing, keep exploring, keep reaching for help. Don't feel that you have to settle for abuse. Don't feel that that this is your lot.
And when we talk about harmful norms around masculinity or femininity, that needs to change for GBV, like what harmful norms surrounding them can we talk about that needs to help prevent GBV? If you want to take this one, Keisha.
So the first one, and this is the one that I am very familiar with, it's the victim blaming. We need to believe women and children when they come and say, you know what, this is what's going on. It shouldn't be a question of, okay, what did you do to make this person hit you? How were you dressed? What did you say? It should never be a case where, you know what, a person is coming to you, women or children are coming to you and saying, this is what I'm going through, this is what happened to me. And the first thing we're saying is, what did you do? Why did you this person ain't mad. They're not gonna hit you just like that. What did you do to cause this abuse? Children, what were you wearing? You know, we normally put more emphasis on blaming the victims and we make them feel as if they are the perpetrators themselves. And that actually makes a lot of women and children afraid to speak up. And when they
Yeah.
do speak up, that is one of the first things that they, they talk about, the fact that when they did try to say something at first, the backlash that they have from their communities or even their own personal circle, in terms
Yeah.
of nobody believing them, no, or people trying to make up excuses or trying to find fault in what they're saying, or saying that, you know what, you had to have done something in order to get this type of action. It's never like, okay, we
Yeah.
believe you, we're here to help you, we support you.
Yeah.
And we need to also stop condoning these behaviors that are coming from men, these aggressive and
Yeah.
dominant behavior, because as children, when boys and stuff behave aggressive, when they hit on girls, or they hit you, a lot of times adults would say, oh, innocuous because he like you. That is not something that we should, be teaching our girl children, or even teaching our boys to say that if you like somebody, this is how you show affection, this is how you show love, by hitting. So by condoning these behaviors, we're actually continuing a cycle of where violence is deemed as acceptable. This is how boys, or as the saying, boys will be boys. Boys have to be aggressive. That's how they show their dominance. And as much as we're speaking on, these different aggressions or dominance that boys have, it actually comes back in the end to affect them, because when male do report abuse, a lot of times they're not believed, because persons tend to say that, oh, you're a man, you're supposed to be strong, you're supposed to be, how you can make this woman knock you, that's not, we don't believe it. And they normally get laughed at, so there's a lot of shame that is attached to that. So that's why a lot of times men themselves don't actually report abuse because
Yeah.
of the per se quote unquote view of what a man is supposed to show dominance while a woman is supposed to be submissive. So when this is something that's reversed, men sometimes are too ashamed to actually, admit to themselves or even admit to the public that, what, I'm going through abuse because of the fear and the stereotype that comes with this and the shame.
Yeah, also just to point out, when males share these information online as well, persons are quick to laugh, and these are stemming from both female and males. So there's a lot of change that we need to see online in the digital world as well, because
Mm-hmm.
persons are opening up personally online, and the next thing in line is just persons are gonna judge them, and that's why persons don't want to come out, especially the males too, who also are being abused. And another thing is too, we need to hold perpetrators accountable.
Accountable.
And you're mentioning persons, as in like the guy group, so like when they go out to chill and they would talk about maybe a girl in a certain manner, you know that that's probably something that he, like, my friend should not be talking about in such a manner.
Mm-hmm.
It's wrong. But I think, Omattie, you were mentioning this early at bishops. We need to really hold these conversations to be more respectful and point out when something is talked that isn't acceptable. We need to like speak up. We need to speak up and say, hey, that's not right. We shouldn't be talking about this. We shouldn't be saying this about X, Y, and Z. So it's all about coming down to accountability as well, holding everyone's words.
Yeah.
You know better. And for us,
Yeah.
we have to start a change from us,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
you know? Yeah. And also another one we can look at, not a harmful norm, but how can we support survivors with through maybe women's organizations or movements. Persons could come on board and be advocates as well.
Yeah.
So it's
Mm-hmm.
about you, and I feel like everyone can be advocate today.
Yeah.
You don't have to be part of an organization or part of a campaign to be representing someone, and especially someone that and I feel like everybody knows someone that was through some form of abuse.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
or do it for yourself, do it for a family member, do it for a friend, do it for maybe a stranger you've seen it on the streets, and you want it to stop, you want it to change, so you can be an advocate. You don't have to sign up online for anything. Even online, if you see somebody reaching out on like on a personal level, don't just show the respect, message them in box, ask them what's going on, how can I help,
Yeah.
tell the 914 number,
Yeah.
show support, right?
Mm-hmm.
So all of these are things that we can do in order to help um, any form of abuse. I'm not just going to say sexual abuse anymore or gender-based
Yeah.
violence,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because there's so many forms of abuse that we kind of overlook too. I'm looking at the time, and before we close this round, this session today, I would like to look at one more last question. How does society respond differently to male versus female survivors of violence?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it can be Miss Omattie or Miss Keisha. You guys, anyone, or unless you want to go ahead first, Omattie, and Keisha can add her closing statements too.
Okay, okay, fair enough. Well, I think we've just seen a story came out yesterday with a young man who was he had to pay a huge fine and also receive imprisonment for using photos of his girlfriend, posting them without her consent. And it's really good to see that actually happened, and it happened at a time like this. It really ties in to the theme for 16 Days of Activism, preventing gender-based violence and particularly through the digital world. I think that more and more we're seeing, perpetrators are using the digital world, the online world to target their to target women and girls. We've had cases in the child advocacy centers where some of these perpetrators are not even from our own country and somehow reaching our girls online and targeting them, and it's and so it's a space where parents need to police a bit more. They need to be more guarded about where their children are at and what they're doing online and who they're connecting with. And having said that, I want to come back to your specific point, Lucretia, in terms of when we think of male to female survivors. I think, of course, we do have, we record more female survivors because men who experience violence don't easily talk about it and don't easily put it out there. As Keisha was saying earlier, there's much more shame and guilt about that. And so what we want to say is that for our service providers, not just police officers, but even counselors and faith leaders and community leaders and parents who are aware and who knows of this situation, it would be useful for us to continue to provide that service in a professional way. And same thing for women, because Keisha spoke about, the harmful norm of blaming the victim and generally blaming women that it's their fault. But when, when you, as a survivor, you're reaching out for these services, if you are not getting, and so I have to say, if both men and women are not receiving professional support or support that is non-judgmental, maybe it's more non-judgmental than professional, if they're now receiving that services, they are going to abandon it and just go back into the violence because it's really not helpful at all. I think in terms of how society perceive, we tend to be a bit more empathetic towards women, but I think everyone needs the good support in removing themselves from a harmful situation, from any form of violence and gender-based violence.
Thank you, Miss Madrid. And Keisha, would you like to leave a closing remark as we wrap up today's discussion?
Yes. So just to add to what Omattie said, gender-based violence affects everyone. It does not affect just women and children. It affects male too. And it should be everybody's business. And it should be something that everybody knows about, is aware of, and they're trying their utmost to ensure to break this cycle of violence. So we all as a community, as society, should work together to break the cycle of gender-based violence, because it's not something that is just directed to the home or just for a home or this particular family. Children, adults, we all go out into society and we all integrate with others. So behaviors that are learned at home will escape into society. So we need to work together as a whole to ensure that enough awareness is brought to this topic and enough is being done to support those who are survivors of gender-based violence.
Great. Thank you, Miss Madrid, and thank you, Keisha. Also, thank you for everyone who has joined us today and listening to what we're talking about or what we have to or what we have to contribute towards the 16 days of activism as we begin it today. Online abuse is real abuse. There is absolutely no excuse for it. Each of us can be an advocate by educating ourselves, speaking up, reporting harmful behaviors, and creating online communities where everyone is safe, and that not only women and girls but also the males. So we want to also include our males, even though today is really about, or the 16 days of activism is really about women and girls, but we're not forgetting our males as well, because they are also victims, and we would like to support everyone who has been affected. I'm Lucretia, and thank you everyone for watching. I do hope you will continue to click on our coming series of discussions, and we'll be talking more about gender-based violence. So thank you so much, and I will just let Keisha and Miss Omattie say goodbye as well.
Thanks, Lucretia, and it was good to be here with you and Keisha. Bye, everyone.
Thank you all for joining in. Bye, everyone.
All right.